Welcome back to Interconnected with Jourdan. I am here live at LCF Kids with Ricardo. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so if you could just introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. My name is Ricardo Cunningham. I'm the founder of LCF Kids. We started 15 years ago, and we're a therapeutic gym. We work with kids with disability, work on growth and fine motor skill, athletics, coordination, and fitness. Pretty much that's the basis. Of course, I went to George Mason University. That's where I did my undergrad. Where I studied therapeutic rec. So pretty much that's the basic in terms of the basic background on myself.
Wonderful. All right, so when we think of technology today, you may think of a smartphone, an app, maybe even artificial intelligence. But sometimes the most powerful human form of technology could have pedals. A bike isn't just a milestone, it's one of the first pieces of technology that lets a child move through this world on their own terms. For most of us, riding a bike was part of growing up. But for children with disabilities, it can sometimes feel out of reach until they meet our next guest. So, Ricardo, he has been helping children to ride bikes for more than 2 decades, and he's helped thousands of children ride their bikes in 24 hours with a 99% success rate. His journey didn't start in the gym, though, it started in a living room. During his senior year of high school, helping his aunt with Down syndrome feel strong, seen, and included. Ricardo, you weren't planning to be a fitness educator, but back in your senior year, something changed and it started with your aunt. Can you take us back to that moment and tell us a little bit more about your journey from that moment till now?
Absolutely. So my aunt, we like a year apart, that's of course, my mom's sister, and we grew up together. So I saw her struggles. She was having a hard time transitioning to like physical education program and just movement in general. And I want to create an environment where she can be more acceptable, but also able to do some of the same things that we were doing. And it started there, and that's where the interest trigger. So when I went off to school, I studied therapeutic rec, and then once I was finished, I started looking to fields in terms of what I could do in terms of enhance my skills from, what I did through college. And then I started over with a private company in Maryland where I started working, with another person teaching gross motor, fine motor skills. And that's where I adopted the bike riding technique where I noticed there was a big gap. There was a need for it. And then after working there for 3 or 4 years, I want to have a bigger impact. So I transitioned back over here in Virginia where I started my own program and started make bike riding more for focus because there it was not a focus because there was such a big need. And after doing some research, I realized bike riding is one of the number one fitness exercise for our brain. And if we think about people with disability, there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of focus issue, especially with kids with autism. We just need that activity where they can engage their muscles, their mind, their brain. And I thought like if we can teach kids to ride, it's gonna help them to move away from the technology in terms of the phone and just screen time and just to get them to be more active and do more movement. So that's where it's all stemmed from me with my aunt, just seeing her struggle. I want to incorporate something for her where she can feel more inclusive, but more confident with her overall movement and just overall just confident with peers and just come outside and play, not just be in the house. And a bike is one of those things where everyone can be a part of it, whether we go together on a group ride or like, when you're on a family vacation and so forth. So that's where that stemmed from regarding, my foundation, where it all stemmed from.
I love that. And there's such passion not only behind when you're telling your story, but also I read through all of your reviews on your website as well as Google reviews. And I came in with a list of questions before that I was planning on having. But after reading your reviews, some of your reviews are paragraphs. And I've written a review before. And if you're watching, I don't know if you write reviews, but when you write a review, there's a lot that goes into it, right? It's time, but more importantly, there's sometimes stories behind it. And if you read through the reviews of LCF Kids and just the passion and the purpose and just the transformations you see, I don't view it as a testimony. I view it as a transformation. And I really wanted to just read some of the reviews from past clients or current clients that you have and get your feedback.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one of them said right here, it was focused around an ice cream ride. So this one said, Ricardo is amazing. I've been having trouble teaching my 9-year-old daughter to ride a bike. Her friends have been asking her to ride around the neighborhood to school to get ice cream, and she's felt left out. Ricardo taught both my kids, 9 and 6, in a couple of lessons each. I could not recommend him more highly. I mean, the ice cream ride, that's not about biking. It's about belonging, being able to say yes to an ice cream meetup with your friends. What would you say to the parent watching right now thinking, what if I waited too long?
I think you don't want to wait it too long because the kids kind of lose their confidence. And as they age, I think it's harder to teach anyone any skill because you're just more aware of the danger, and you just kind of, to be honest, I feel a little bit embarrassed. If you are like 14, 15 years old, you feel like, well, that ship already sailed. I think the best time to teach any child any skill is at an early age when it's more they're more willing to take the lesson and absorb those skills. So I always recommend early, but it's never too late because I just taught a 14-year-old boy yesterday. I think yesterday was the final class to ride a bike, and the dad thought he will never learn. To be honest, when the student was on the bike, he was shaking. I was like, "Wow, this is gonna be a tough task." And he came back next class, and I kind of modified some of the things that I did. The bike was a little high, and I lowered the bike, and then within that class he was riding. It's one of those almost like I thought of it like a miracle bike class. Like I thought like this was gonna be a tough one. But just to show you, if you put your mind to anything, you can learn it because that was the thing with that student. He was very persistent. He really, really wanted to learn. And even though he would close his eyes sometime. That's why I thought it was gonna be a very difficult task. He would like just shake so much. Like I was like, wow, there's a lot of anxiety. But like I said, just finding the right bike is the most important thing. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of parents makes when they come to actually trying to teach their kids to ride a bike. They bought a bike that's too big. It's like an oversized bike. It's like learning to drive a car. You don't go and try to teach a child to drive a truck. You start off with something small to build a confidence, something they can maneuver. And I personally feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes. By getting a smaller bike, have build a confidence, the kids have more control of the bike. And then overall, I think it just reduces the fear.
I love that. Yeah, I was reading too some of the testimonies you mentioned age, and although it is helpful if a child is younger, it's never too late
Never
because
too late.
a 26-year-old, I think I saw too on your reviews, you are doing a wonderful work. Another review said our daughter has a chromosome disorder. She couldn't even stand when we started. We didn't think the gym would work for her. Ricardo gave examples on the spot of how he could modify it to her level. She was reluctant at first, but now she loves going. And this one reminds me, as a parent, there's been times where if I'm nervous about my child doing things, you may have that moment where you're sitting in the parking lot thinking, maybe we don't need to do this. And then there's something that just pushes you like, hey, just give it a try. Maybe just like go inside and give it a try. We were talking before and just how your children are your babies and you're entrusting someone for the first time where there's already a sense of just hesitation. So can you take us through for a parent wondering, is my child able to start this? What would you tell them? Or what does this review remind you?
Well, it reminds me of even myself as a kid growing up. Confidence is the key, and if you lack the confidence, it will hinder you from doing things. So sometimes it's just good to do your research and explore new things. Like I remember that parent just like yesterday, and she said she just want to give it a chance. And that's what I told her. It's not a contract. You can leave the next week if you don't want to continue. Let's just give it a try and see if it works out. And like to be honest, that student is still a client of us. She's been here for over 10 years, and the mom told me this was one of the best things she have done because she glad she went on this journey. And that little girl grew up with us. Now she's a young adult, and she still comes here for camp. And I remember, she was not able to walk independently. Now she comes and she can run. She goes on the trampoline. She can drum. She drums around, and she engage with her parents, and she just enjoy coming here. So my list to parents, you just got to give things a chance, and it's okay to have speculation. But one thing about us and most places I know about, it's transparency. So we let you come in. We not say, okay, take your kid and you go and sit in the back. I like to engage with parents. I like to show them what we're doing and have the parents a part of the process. So, no needs to worry. You can be a part of the process. You can stay, you can observe. But I always say you got to give the chance a try and got to let them explore, and they will grow from that. So, you can't know until you try.
He can't know until you try. So Jerome, you just gotta like let take a step, and that is from all of the different reviews, step that a lot of parents didn't look back after that. They keep coming back.
Oh yeah, kids here for 15 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they've been here when we just started out, and it's like a family. We grew together.
Yeah. And this next one, so this child came to learn hoverboard. So this one says, wow, Ricardo promised to show my boy how to ride his new hoverboard in a few days. Instead, he did it in a day. You never saw a happier kid and mom than us. He's like oxygen, patient, kind, confident in my child's ability. Who would not want to be described as you're like oxygen? So, can you tell me about what that means to you, and how do you, when I read through all of these, it's like you're building back a sense of hope, not only for a parent, but also you're building this confidence that's just sitting there in a child waiting to be just opened up by the right person. And so how do you build that belief back up for a kid who has maybe lost that, or a parent who's close to giving up?
I think it's all the key is to reaffirm the kid that you know what, you're there for them and they will not fall. It's like building up confidence with the student. I have to reconnect with the student because most of the time, I personally feel like when a student come to the class and most of the struggle is always confident. If you can reconnect with that student and build up some rapport or just build up the confidence with that student and teach them the mechanical and reassure them that, hey, I'm here for you. You will not fall. I'm going to teach you to do this skill. And I guarantee you, once you master it, you're going to enjoy it. And I think that that's the key. It's just going back to connecting, building up that confidence with the student, and that's kind of always my takeaway. It's also about connecting with the student. Because most of the time, I personally feel like when the kids don't learn, it's like the parents not connecting with the kid in some way. 'Cause if you, even as the parents, don't connect with the kids, give the kids a reason for giving it, for trying, and to keep going, even though they may not get it. That's why sometimes you have to try something else, or you can try someone else. So that's kind of my takeaway is really the connectivity, able to connect, and then you can move from there and reassure the kids, like I said, about the success. And you have to walk them through the process and they have to feel confident with you too. I walk along with the student, actually run with them sometimes, so they feel so secure.
You're not just standing back, you're
I'm with them.
beside them.
I'm walking with them and I'm talking with them sometimes. I'm telling them how to turn. And sometimes, in some cases, I even prompt them how to turn. I don't step back until like we're at the very final stage where like we even discussed it, and I'll let them know. Say, all right, we're at the stage now. I want you to give it a try. I'm gonna step back, but I want you to go for 5 or 6 pedals, and then you stop, and then hit the brake and put your feet on the ground. And when they did that, it's almost like it reassured them more. And say, wow, I did it, and what he did was good. Sometimes when you surprise the kids, it can backfire. So it's good to give them a heads up. Hey, I'm going to do this after they build up the skill.
So you're walking not only beside them, but also walking them through the skills so that
Yes.
they know what they're to be expected.
Yes, and that reassure them. And I think that's the big difference with most of these students. Like, then they get to trust what I'm doing. And if you trust the process, you're more likely to learn the skill.
Yes. Well, this one, uh, let's see, there's so many that I would want to read through, but I had to pick the top. But even during the pandemic, her daughter said, my dad, his daughter wrote a review, took the time to write a review. And she said, my dad is the best. He's been at this for over 10 years. Even during the pandemic, he was doing better than ever. That shows he loves his job. So I don't know if that one would bring you to tears, but I was a daddy's girl growing up. So just taking the time, knowing that your dad is not only so passionate about the work he does, but also for your child to see you basically doing this and to put it in their own words of how much goes into it. What did she see, or what do you think your daughter sees in you that maybe you'd forgotten to see in yourself?
She gets to see how hard I work because, sometimes, to be honest, I'm here 6 days a week. And, like I said, even during the pandemic, to be honest, as you know, most of the gyms were closed. So most of the activity are outdoor stuff. And bike was very important during those times because you could go outside and you can ride and it was safer. So I think she just sees the hard work. And, I'm always, at the gym. And sometimes she's here with me. Sometimes, to be honest, she's very passionate about it. And very proud to say she's also one of our staff this year. She's assisting me as an assistant, and she's very passionate about it. So, I think it's run within that line for both of us. So I think just how hard she sees me work and how passionate I am with the kids. And like I said, she's always with me. So sometimes she's here and she's observing and see what I'm doing. So she gets to see it heads on up front.
That's wonderful that she is now part of the team.
Yep,
And I'm sure that makes uh, you smile.
absolutely.
I mean, I think of my childhood bike growing up. I even had a name for my bike. I don't know if anyone else named their bike. Mine was Pink Starburst, but it was just so much freedom, connection. I just remember my parents allowing me to ride to my friend's house, and I had to be back before the street light came on. So my dad actually taught me how to ride my bike. And so it is something very special, right? That's why this story matters, because not every kid may get that moment. Not every parent gets to be the teacher. But what Ricardo does day after day is give them a chance, that connection, that freedom. So when we talk about technology, we think of apps and AI, but we forget a bicycle is technology too. And in the hands of someone like Ricardo, it becomes something more, a story, a moment, a milestone, a memory that says you belong. And so, no, it's not just a bike, it's hope with handlebars. So, if you would like to stick around, we are going to take you behind the scenes with Ricardo. 2 decades, thousands of kids, 99% success rate, and every one of them started with a push. Ricardo, if you could tell everyone where you're located. So, some of our guests that are tuning in may be local to Virginia. So, if you could share where you're located before we take them behind the scenes.
Absolutely. We're in the city of Falls Church, which is on the Fairfax County in Northern Virginia. Our address is 150 South Washington Street. Like I said, we're in the city of Falls Church. We're right on the border of Arlington and, Loudoun County and McLean. We're right in that little circle area. So in the city of Falls Church is pretty much where we are.
Wonderful. So you all know where he is, LCF Kids. Ricardo, thank you for joining us today on Interconnected with Jourdan. We are better because of the work you do and the way you do it. So stick around. We are going to go and take a tour now behind the scenes. Okay, so we're going through the gym. We're going to start back at the rock wall. Look at this. Okay, so Ricardo's going to show us how this works. It's okay, because they probably can hear you. They won't.
All right, so this is a rock wall. It's a small wall. So as you can see, the letters, the shape, the numbers all appears. The cool thing about our rock wall, we're trying to incorporate sensory input, but we're trying to incorporate cognitive skills, and that's what makes our rock wall unique. Not only have the kids climb across where they can go using a specific color, like you could actually use the green or the yellow rocks to go across laterally, but our system have a light system where you can turn on the lights, or you can change the lights to numbers or shapes. As you can see, the lights appears, and it really incorporates like the cognitive skills and focus and attention. For example, this is a great game that we do a lot with our first student who want to seek more sensory input, but just want to have something to track, which help them with their focus. So the lights appears and you can just climb up and you can work on midline. To be honest, you can go left and right across the body, and the kids really get a lot of sensory input, not only from the touching, but the sound. So, and now they have a target, they have objective. Some of them like to hit the lights out in a certain time frame. So, and it gives the kids some incentive to go on the wall. And that's what we like about it. And they feel so accomplished when they finish that goal. And then, like I said, when I say cognitive, it just based on the objective. The same game can change from lights into numbers. So if we go to the same game and we change the number, we go from just tracking the light, but going back to the cognitive piece I was explaining earlier. So as you can see here, the letter A appears, and when you hit that now, it turns into an alphabet. So for young kids, it's a great way to build up those cognitive skills, the alphabet, and all those stuff. So, you have to track the numbers, the letters, I should say. So go from A, and then you get to the B, and it goes on and on. So you can go all the way, of course, through the alphabet. You can change the letters into numbers. You can do shapes. You can do memory. Of course, the trampoline is one of the kids' favorite here. We teach them all the locomotor skill, hopping, running, jumping, gallop, skipping, because the kids that get the sensory input and they're more engaging and they're more willing to participate because all the feedbacks they get, like I said, lateral movement to the left or right, teaching them how to hop on one leg. And for kids with joints issue, this is great because now you take away the direct pressure from hitting something hard. So that really helps for those kids. And then all of those input that comes with jumping on the trampoline. And we can go over here. It's okay, cheaper fine. The zip line is great for strength training. Like I said, it's great to get that input, but build up the wrist strength and the arms. You can really hold on and zip across. For kids who need support, they can stand on the mat. But you can also stand from the ground. So you can go across, but you can hold me up. It's strong enough to get a kid who's older and bigger, but it's a great way to develop arms and core strength, and that's why we have it in place. And then we have the ladder, we have a slanted wall here, we have the monkey bar. It's a great way to build up that fine motor skill, the midline, the gripping skill. This can hold up to 200 pounds, so it's pretty much open for anyone. And then over here, we have our swing. We have a lot of different swings. These are 10 swing, a lot of sensory input that you can get from it. We have a platform swing here. Like I said, it's strong enough to hold up to 200 pounds. A lot of kids really enjoy it. And just getting all that vestibular sense. What we love with the 10 swing, you can actually put 2 or 3 kids in here and they get that social interaction, learn to share. We really enjoy that. And then here is the same concept. The lines over here can change into numbers, as you can see. The cool thing about this one, you can throw a ball at it. So you can get that sports skill, athletic skill. So we call this the smart wall. So it's very unique. The kids love it. We have balance course that we do. This vestibular is to help with that sensory input, the visual stimulation. And then over here, we have a very cool auditor processing equipment here. So pretty much for kids who need to work on that auditor skill, which is like learning to track something by listening and move into the sound of the lights. It's great for focus and attention. Kids who are sensitive to the noise, you can turn it down. As you can see, we turned the volume down, and it's that reactionary skills you can work on. So these are very cool equipment to develop any kind of reactionary skill, hand-eye coordination. You can use weighted ball for strength and gripping skill for fine motor skill. So it just based on the objective of the child. Here's another smart fit equipment we use. This is very similar to the one outside, but this one you can track it more with your hands. But it's more advanced. There's actual letters that appears where you can track the letters, the words I should say, not only the letters, but the words in here. So many things we have to offer. We do floor activities, and then, we do sports skills and athletics. As you can see over here, we have a mini basketball hoop. So just to teach the kids the fundamental skills.
All right. Thank you so much for that tour.